Hello to everyone on the board. My name is Brandon Hale, and I'm here with my esteemed colleagues.
Stanley Swarner,
Sahil Gandhi.
Kate Carpenter,
Abby Lazarus,
and Soraya Devarakonda.
Collectively, we are Project Siri. In Malagasy, the word Siri means sprout or seedling, with a symbolic meaning of emotional healing and recovery, ultimately relating to our project's aim to break intergenerational trauma and promote emotional well-being in Madagascar.
based on the specific needs for improving emotional well-being in Madagascar, we have focused on 3 specific regions: Asuma, Androfana, Anandroy, and Anose. Within these regions, we are serving a total of 7 districts. These regions were chosen based on higher rates of child poverty, child exploitation with mica mining, and youth literacy, all correlated with higher emotional abuse. Specific research has shown as little as 15% of children ages 3 to 4-year-olds attend preschool, more than 190,000 children at risk of being exploited in mica mining, especially in regions of extreme poverty. Climate change is exacerbating, impacting the severe mental health crisis in southern Madagascar, particularly among adolescents. Recent studies find over 82% of adolescents showing probable depression and 87% showing probable generalized anxiety. And mental health infrastructure is very weak in Madagascar, with only 1.44 mental health workers per 100,000 people in the country.
We are proud to present 4 essential components: strategic partnerships, community advisory boards, Moringa groups, and integration. Our strategic partnerships encompass collaborations with NGOs on both national and international scales. UNICEF and AMINA both have research on their impact in various regions throughout the country with work tied to youth empowerment. UNICEF has a focus on multiple interventions throughout Madagascar with specific emphasis on child protection against exploitation in mica mining farms in the region, listed above. AMINA has a greater focus on breaking the cycle of emotional abuse through interactive training on a more educational setting, working primarily with schools throughout the region. Further collaboration is being educated with the Catholic University of Madagascar to support educational initiatives for youth and review the emotional well-being curriculum. Our second partnership will be with Habibo, a manufacturing and distribution company based in Madagascar that will be utilizing to disseminate our intervention. In addition to these organizations, we are partnering with local artisan markets, sourcing our intervention tools from these local vendors, and furthering our integration into the community and local economy. These collaborations strengthen the integrity of our program and work with regionally based organizations, building upon previous interventions to build the way that we approach education surrounding emotional well-being.
Our intervention is based on the WHO MHGAP Toolkit, which is a curriculum training community members on mental health. Our team adapted the curriculum to reduce focus on mental health and emphasize emotional well-being. This curriculum will be used to train community advisory boards, or CABs. CABs are groups of 10 to 15 community leaders, including but not limited to religious leaders, teachers, elders, parents, and anyone else in the community that they may deem important. UNICEF and OMENA will support us throughout the community with the entry by identifying local leaders and recruiting CAB members in Anosi, Androy, and Atsumo Androfana. CABs will meet for 2 hours every week for 3 months to create the curriculum to best fit the needs of each community. The curriculum will be created with the assistance of the interpreters, UNICEF, OMENA, community liaisons, regional supervisors, and the CABs. After curriculum construction, community liaisons will train CABs for 3 months. Community liaisons are local employees that will attend CAB meetings and Moringa groups to evaluate progress. These sessions will cover a variety of topics, finishing each session with an interactive activity to help with retention of material covered. To monitor progress, there will be evaluations at the beginning and end of the training. To allow CAB members to share their learned information about emotional well-being with their communities, each CAB will receive a microgrant of $150 every 3 months to plan larger-scale community-wide events. This will help decrease taboo around the topic of emotional well-being and bring awareness to this issue and to those not involved in the Moringa groups. SMART goals. By the end of the phase 2, each of the 3 regions, there will be fully functioning CABs with 15 trained members at each of the 32 sites.
Once we have developed our curriculum and trained our CABs, we needed to find a way to disseminate this information to the community. This comes in the form of Moringa groups. The Moringa groups are caregiver child programs that allow for the development of healthy and emotionally intelligent communication between families. The goal of these groups is to reduce rates of emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse in the home, therefore ending intergenerational trauma in the families we work with. In each group, we will be recruiting caregivers and their children between the ages of 5 and 15. There will be a maximum of 15 caregivers in each group. Because the average fertility rate is 4, we estimate 4 children per caregiver, bringing each group to 75 people total. Each group will be led by the area's trained community advisory board. The CABs will curate a curriculum and activities for the Moringa groups using the community needs assessment and the previously administered training. Our curriculum will highlight climate stress, which has direct correlation to worsening emotional well-being in youth. We will work adjacently with UNICEF's current eco-school intervention to promote environmental education and preparedness. Groups will be utilizing wooden figurines and crafts to assist with the implementation of emotional well-being strategies.
So you were all given paper and charcoal. So as I describe the external tools used for our intervention, please use the materials to draw something that makes you happy. It can be a person, place, or thing. Please be creative. As you engage with the activity, imagine a child in Madagascar using this medium to communicate and express their emotions. So the utilization of wooden figurines and crafts in a hands-on learning model will help with the information retention in youth. Research shows that toy play is a primary method of communication for children, as it has been shown to strengthen parent-child relationships. Visual media also acts as a method of communication, allowing children to express their understanding of their community. Together, these methods promote stronger communication between youth and adults and show comprehension of emotional well-being concepts.
Scholarship programs with the University of Madagascar provide an added incentive for children within the Moringa groups, allowing them to continue their high school education and work as mental health professionals to increase access to care. 2 scholarships will be awarded in each Moringa group per year.
Additionally, we will implement revolving microloans of $500 distributed to young adults, caregivers, and community members to start financial initiatives within their communities, such as food stalls and local tailoring businesses. This model has been used for over 50 years to help boost the economies of communities with higher poverty rates, giving loan recipients and therefore communities relief from financial burden, ultimately which helps increase emotional well-being and health in families and youth. The interest collected from the microloans will then be used to pay scholarship recipients when they return to their home districts after receiving their psychology degree by paying them to be mental health counselors in local schools or community emotional well-being professionals. By using microloans, we are investing the same money to benefit the community twice. First, by benefiting local economy, and second, by establishing emotional well-being sustainability efforts in local communities.
Another aspect of the community we are targeting with the training program is churches, as 85.3% of Madagascar identifies as Christian. Catholic and Protestant religious leaders perform pastoral care, which is providing emotional, physical, and psychological support in a spiritual context. We aim to include religious leaders in our CABs so they can incorporate the training on emotional abuse, emotional well-being, and intergenerational trauma into the care they already provide for their congregants. This increased awareness of these issues, combined with the trust community members have already built with religious leaders, creates a form of counseling resembling ethnopsychotherapy. For this part of our intervention, our SMART goal is, by the beginning of Phase 3, each of the 32 communities will have a CAB-led Moringa emotional regulation group serving 75 participants, supported logistically by Habibo.
Via our partnership with UNICEF, we'll be investing in their TMDH program, which stands for the Monetary Transfer for Human Development. This program is aimed at reducing child labor rates, increasing school enrollment rates, and reducing long-term food insecurities in the rural regions we will be working in. Reduction in these rates has a direct effect on the emotional well-being of youth, as these are direct stressors for their mental health. Investing in cash transfers to families in the districts we will work in allows them to keep their children from working at the mica mining sites so they can attend primary and secondary school. This has an indirect effect on the eligibility of youth for our student scholarships in the Moringa groups. With this investment, we will be able to use UNICEF for advertising methods to recruit families for our Moringa groups. A component of our intervention is partnership with the company group Habibo. With over 80 years of experience, Habibo is the current leading distributor of Malagasy fast-moving consumer goods across Madagascar's 22 regions. Habibo is passionate about distributing Malagasy-sourced products, as well as supporting additional mental health and youth initiatives, such as stress prevention discussions moderated by psychologists and educational campaigns. This makes them an optimal company to partner with. Our purpose is to utilize their existing transportation, distribution, and logistical processes by employing 8 truck drivers, 4 internal auditors, 3 communications officers, 1 maintenance officer, 1 QHSE manager, 3 QHSE assistants, 3 marketing purchasing assistants, and 6 storekeepers to carry out our intervention. We intend our company buy-in to be a recommended 12% of company-associated costs, with aims for facilities and further development of their company.
We will purchase 103,200 wooden figurines, 206,400 charcoal sticks, and 2,064 reams of paper from artisanal markets such as the Dige market in the capital city. These materials will gradually be transported to our selected regions using Habibo's transport trucks as shown here. However, because Madagascar's national road system does not reach deep rural communities, the figurines and art supplies will be transferred using zebu carts and canoes to reach their final destination. These local transport systems are extremely reliable and have been utilized by Habibo in the CDC's previous mosquito net delivery campaign in 2019. This aligns with our SMART goal of 60 wooden figurines will be delivered per Moringa group, ensuring coverage for 4,000 children in each region for 3 years, removing them from labor at mica mines.
Our timeline consists of 5 distinct phases over 3 years. We will begin our plan in the Anosi region. Phase 1 occurs during the first 3 months in each region and consists of establishing ourselves by building trust and recruiting to create our cabs. Additionally, we will establish business relationships with the Habibo group. Our partnerships with UNICEF and Omena will help us establish ourselves within the community using their expertise. By month 4, the cabs are created, therefore starting phase 2. The first 3 months of phase 2 will include creating an emotional well-being training curriculum with the cabs, ensuring it's culturally relevant for each community. The second 3 months of phase 2 would include putting cabs through the trainings. We will simultaneously recruit children and caregivers to take part in the Moringa groups. Phase 2 will then end when the cabs complete their training, but weekly meetings with the cabs will continue. Phase 3 begins at month 9 and initiates the Moringa groups. The cabs will be facilitating the Moringa groups once a week for 2 hours. 60 wooden figurines will initially be distributed per Moringa group through the Habibo group. Through this process, the community liaisons will be conducting consistent program monitoring with the cabs to assess caregiver engagement. Phases 1 through 3 will repeat for each region at the start of each calendar year.
Phase 4 begins at month 10 of year 1 and continues throughout the project. At this point, we will have established structured Moringa groups. We will begin distributing revolving microloans at the start of this phase, with it continuing throughout the 3 years. We will also begin planning for the sustainability of our project by exploring new partnerships, beginning grant writing, and working to secure additional funding. The wooden figurines will continue to be restocked to each Moringa group every 6 months to account for changes in participants. Moreover, the scholarships will be awarded in Phase 4 at the end of each year. Phase 5 will start at the beginning of year 3. As we reach the end of our time frame, we aim to increase access to emotional and mental health services. This includes conducting ongoing monitoring and evaluation of all existing programs, as well as planning for long-term scaling. We will also publish the results of our initiatives and share our processes and findings with our NGO partners in the Ministry of Health.
We've designed a 3-year plan with a $7 million budget. Our outcomes are broken down yearly. Year 1 is collaborating with strategic partners. Year 2 is expanding training through the program pipeline. And Year 3 sustainably increases prevention, programming, and care. These all lead into our inputs, which are broken down step by step. Then that leads into our outputs.
Through conducting a SWOT analysis, we have identified our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Our strengths are the sustainability through grant writing and contingency funds, collaboration and alignment with regional partners, empowerment of youth, and community investment. Our weaknesses observed are dependence on external partnerships, large scale across southern Madagascar, reliance on transportation routes, and variability in cultural training based on region. Opportunities we predict are an increase in rural counseling services, development of interdisciplinary education tools, promotion of youth education in rural areas, and facilities development. Threats we predict are an underlying stigma surrounding mental health, pushback from community members, adaptation to environmental changes, and unanticipated economic disruption impacting distribution flow.
On this slide, we illustrate our budget, grouped in relevant categories. 19.2% is allocated to microloans given to young adults and community members starting businesses. 19.9% of our budget is for our student scholarship program. 15.4% is allocated to the TMDH fund. 15% is dedicated to our contingency fund for the sustainability of our program. 10% is allocated to wooden figurines and art materials utilized in Moringa groups. And 9.1% is dedicated to compensation for the Moringa and CAB groups. 6.6% of the budget is for our interpreter workers, our Habibo employees, and company buy-in costs, 2.9%, and grant writing is 1.7%. Additional minor costs within the budget are allocated to gas and regional driver salaries. Because our initiatives specifically benefit different age groups in the broad category of youth, we've calculated 3 separate costs per beneficiary, as seen on the slide here. We greatly appreciate your time and look forward to making Project Siri sprout into reality.
Thank you very much from the judges, and whoever wants to go first, go ahead and start.
Sure. Thank you so much. This is really exciting and so many different components really integrated together. So it's exciting to see that. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the microloans and sort of your vision for that and sustainability. Yeah.
sure. So the idea with the microloans the idea with the microloans is that they've been used in a lot of other developing countries and just to like establish, and I think specifically with women, but our idea is to empower young adults as well as just caregivers to kind of help give families a little bit more financial like independence and to therefore kind of help relieve intergenerational trauma as well as just uplift the emotional well-being of the families. In terms of how they would actually be like structured, the idea is that mainly through our Moringa groups as well as the community advisory board led like events with the micro grants that we would basically recruit for people that are interested, and then we're working with a company the premier agency for microfinance in Madagascar, and they've done a lot of this microfinancing already, and they already have a system established. So we'll pay them a little bit of money up front, and then over the 3 years of the program, we'll distribute the microloans, and then we'll collect interest for over 7 years while the students are like going to college and finishing high school and such. And then hopefully we're going to amount the amount of money that we'll need to pay these students after when they go back to their regions. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, do you have a vision for how those microloans might continue after?
Yeah, so they are revolving microloans. So the idea is that like obviously we wouldn't take the money back, but instead through the PAMF company that they would be administering these loans again and again within the community to kind of help with the sustainability effort and just long term of paying maybe further scholarship recipients through grant money that we may receive, as well as just generally like helping with sustainability efforts in that kind of area.
Great, thanks. I have other questions, but do the other judges want to jump in? Do you have another question?
I'm happy.
Well, I can ask another question, which is around the engagement with the private sector. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses of working with Habibo. And yeah, before I turn it over to the
Yeah, of course. Give me 1 second while I pull up. Okay, so the first thing that I like to talk about is their challenges and opportunities. So one thing is during the pandemic, obviously that was a big impact on companies like worldwide. And specifically when the CEO of Habiba was getting interviewed, he mentioned how they had a very quick way to come back from the challenges faced by COVID. And that was especially due to the demand of the market. They have great company buy-in because they're specifically using Malagasy sourced products. It's not imported large companies. The only one within that is specifically large brands like Coca-Cola, but they do change packaging accordingly for that. And additionally, the great thing is that Habibo also reaches all 22 regions of Madagascar. So they have existing transportation and distribution routes that they are already consistently using. So therefore, we wanted to partner with a company that already has so many years of experience to be able to actually put through our solution. We also have their heat score listed here, which is shows how they have large exponential growth and a high compounding potential as a company in itself. And then I also wanted to mention that their mental health campaigns and youth initiatives are really important for us. We really wanted to make sure that we had great company buy-in with this. So we went through on their social medias and we found mental health campaigns, such as this one pictured here, as well as youth campaigns. They actually have 3 different ones, which involve education and reaching out to rural communities specifically.
Great, thanks. I will turn it over to fellow judges.
Cool. So first of all, thank you for being sharply dressed. I like that. It's dressed for success. So, so the title of your project is Breaking Intergenerational Trauma. Can you elaborate a little bit more how that will be done, specifically the intergenerational part using the WHO toolkit?
Yes, so the toolkit is made specifically for mental health rather than necessarily emotional health. And we decided to rebrand that because mental health comes with a certain like taboo and stigma. So we wanted to put the information forward in a way that would be more accessible to everybody and more well received. But the WHO toolkit is made for community members, so we just adapted it in a way that would fit our ideas, right? But also with intergenerational trauma, I mean, it goes from down the family through generations. So with our Moringa groups, we will have our CAB members who have been trained with the WHO toolkit to, they have that information, they're able to create it in activities and a curriculum that will be able to be translated to community members. So we will be addressing the family dynamic directly with parents and children together. So we'll be able to facilitate discussions within them that will kind of bring attention to forms of emotional abuse that will exist, not in that many words, of course, but so that we can improve family dynamics and end the trauma there.
Okay, thank you. So, and a bit along the line of the microloans. So, what happens if your project ends? Besides what you already talked about regarding the microloans.
Yeah. So when you mean the project ends, can I just like ask to clarify, do you mean like the CAB groups and that side of things?
The project you are proposing.
Okay. Or yeah.
What happens after that? So I'm thinking in terms of sustainability.
Yeah. So sustainability wise, I think our intervention really does a really great job of starting to plan for sustainability in the phase. Can we go to the slide? Oh, can we just go back to the timeline? There you go. So we are starting to plan for sustainability in phase 4. So we're already applying for grants to make sure that even after the year 3 is done, this will continue on and we will have sustainability to continue on all our programs, which is really important because after year 3 ends, we don't want to leave our intervention. We want to keep it going.
All right.
I also wanted to mention that we do have a 15% contingency fund to be able to carry out our solution past the 3 years. And that specific percentage is actually recommended for the risk type of the company that we are to be able to carry out our solution. And so we decided to pick the higher end, which is the 15% of the range that is online to be able to, come back to carry out our solution. And that's already adding on top of the revolving microloans to be able to further support it as well.
Okay, so my last question, will we be judged for our
One more question, a brief question and a brief answer.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think it could be brief. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I was really curious to hear a little bit more about the workforce development component and just checking whether I have this right. So is it loans that fund mental health workforce development, and then the program will also be paying those mental health workers who then use that income to repay the loans? Or could you just
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. So we already have scholarships allocated within the original $7 million budget. Those scholarships will be distributed amongst the youth and will not really interact with the microloans at all. The microloans are more of a sustainability effort. So the question that arose was that we're paying these students to go get a degree in psychology, right? But what are they going to do with that degree? They would go back to their communities and they would work in mental health counseling within schools, or even just as the community liaisons that we already have established to kind of just help facilitate mental health and emotional health discussion amongst the community. The microloans the idea is that the interest from the microloans generated would then be able to be used to pay for these students, I guess graduates now, but to pay for them to be able to work in the workforce in their communities.
Thank you.